Working on the cockpit. I am using 0.25 millimeter fiber optics. So I'm taking a 0.25 millimeter micro drill bit. This is a 50 pack. I got it off of Amazon. Union Tool is the manufacturer. So you get 10, 0.2, 0.25, 0.3, 0.35, and 0.4 millimeter drill bits. So here is my back panel. So I just took my micro drill bit. The detail on this back panel is really pretty good, and there are several little dimples and panels that are inset, so you can use that to stabilize the drill bit, and then I just slowly worked it through until I got all the ones that I wanted to do. So I've taken a piece of 0.25 millimeter fiber optic here, and I threaded it. So it'll give me light once I get them all in there. Some will be blinking and some will be static. Now I need to move on to the rest of the cockpit, the upper part, and the part that holds all the peoples. The inside of the cockpit, the underside. I'm probably crazy, but what I've done is I did the same thing as I did on the back panel. I went through and put my holes in, and I just drilled them all the way through. So now what I'm going to attempt to do is, I've got a certain spot I have to go that goes behind the panel. The panel fits in like this. So I have to at least come back this far for the fiber optics. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to just channel into the plastic back to give me a groove so that I can set the fiber optic inside, and then once all of them are in and glued in place, then I'm going to fill it in, probably with some plastic putty, and then sand it down. And there are some of them that come through this little grid thing here, so I'm going to have to kind of recreate some of this stuff that's already here, especially this inside piece. So I'm going to give it a whirl. If it doesn't work, I do have another kit so I can get another part, but I'm going to work on that, and then I'll come back and we'll see if I did it or not. Just like on the back panel, I've drilled my holes on the inside of this top panel here of the cockpit using the same micro drill bit. And then I went and took this little chisel tool, which I know I got it on Amazon, but I don't remember the brand name of it, and I don't remember how much it cost. But what I did is I drilled my big hole for the fiber optics to go through, and then I took the chisel and I just made myself a line to the holes I'd already drilled, what I wanted to chisel out, and then I very slowly just started chiseling it out. And once I got a good chunk chiseled out, then I would just take the edge and scrape it to just take a little bit off at a time, because I don't want to go all the way through to the other side, but I need to get enough depth to be able to hide the 0.25 fiber optic that's going to go in there. Plus I need enough width to be able to handle the amount of fiber optics that are going to go through here. So now what I'll need to do is I'll need to go in and paint and detail the inside of the cockpit. Then I can put in my fiber optics and run them back through this hole. Probably glue them, find some way to glue them, and then I'll probably go over with some Aves epoxy sculpt and fill in these little channels that I made, because once it dries it'll be really hard. It's an epoxy resin, 2-part, so it'll be hard, and then I'll be able to sand and try to duplicate the outside of what it was before I went and chiseled it out and messed it up. And the original part here, if you use the lighting kit, this whole bottom half right here is gone from the door. So what I did was I chiseled out the thickness of this styrene strip here, and then I cut a piece so it would fit flush. I still have my line here in the middle, but it's so tiny you're not going to really see it all that much. I don't think it's going to make that big a difference. And then I put another piece on top of the back just to help reinforce it and also give me a little more light block for when I paint the back of it black. Got all my holes drilled and everything. I'm getting ready to paint. I just cleaned everything. I did make a modification to the front of the console here. So I took some evergreen. Get this so it doesn't glare here. Took some of these strips, and what I did was I put them on the front, on the left and the right, and then the front here, because the fiber optics that are going to go through here on the console are going to run down, and then they're going to run under here. I shaved all this down. As you can see, I cut 2 slots out here, so it'll run all the way under and then out the back here so that I can connect it to a light source. So let me see if I can put this together real quick. If it will cooperate. Like so. And then this fits really well, this cockpit canopy, and I think I'm going to leave that to where I can take it on and off, so you'll be able to look inside and get a better view. But now everything is, like I said, clean, and it's ready to prime and put some paint on. I'm going to prime everything, and then I'm going to paint the inside where all my fibers go, like I mentioned before, and then put in my fibers, run them down this channel through the back, and then I'll figure out how I need to fix this outside so you can't see any of it. I've primed all the pieces, and then I airbrushed all the interior pieces with Model Air NATO Black. Everything from this point for the details is going to be done with a brush by hand. So I'm going to get set up and start on that. Not sure if the camera's going to pick this up, but what I've done is I've taken my .03 mechanical pencil and I've hit the edges just very lightly to give me a line to color in for my next color on this back panel. And that color is going to be a Model Air light gray. Okay, now you can see that I just very, very lightly went over it with a very, very thin brush. This is the same brush I always use, and I think I mentioned in another video that all the writing's off of it, so I can't tell you what the size is. But now that I have all that on there, now I need to move on and do the underside of the top of the cockpit. After getting the gray panel on, I went back in with my thin brush, and as you can see, put some little dots and stuff. There will be lights in there, but I also wanted to kind of punch it up a little bit so there was some contrast. So the blue I used is this Model Air UKPRU blue. I believe this is a British plain color. And for the red, I used the Vallejo model color Vermilion. And then the white was the Model Air white. So I still have some touch-ups to do, and now I'm going to move on and paint the seats and everything in the cockpit. It's a little test fit here. The seats I painted first with Model Air Rust, and after that was dry, I went in and I dry brushed some Model Air Mud Brown. And then I mixed a little bit of the mud brown and some water with the model color Old Gold, kind of give it a little bit of a sheen. And then I went over it with a little bit of a wash, black wash. Let me get this closer here so you can see it better. I may tweak some things after I spray it down with some dull coat so I can seal everything. But the cockpit is coming along. Let me put the top on. Looking pretty good. Finished up the back panel of the cockpit. You can see my light bars here. What I did is I took this straight pin and just get it down in that groove, because there is a groove there, and you just scrape all the black off until you get down to the white plastic of the kit. So it gives you a nice clean line, and now you have your light bar. I'm probably not going to be able to light it because it's so small, and once I get the 3 LEDs in there for 2 different rates of blinking and then 1 solid, I'm not going to have enough to block all that off. It's just so tiny. The light bars that are on the side, on the inside of the cockpit in here, they're not defined on this kit, so I'm not going to be able to scrape it in there. So I'm going to leave it alone. Now we're ready to start putting in some fiber optics. Okay, I've got all my fiber optics threaded here, so I just kind of wanted to show you what it's going to look like. Like I said, some will be blinking. There'll be 2 different sets of alternate blinks, or different rates actually, and then some solids. But it's starting to look pretty good. So I'm going to do all the rest of the fiber optics and get those secured on the backs of everything, and then I'll come back and show you how I'm going to do the lighting for it. I've sprayed the outside here with some primer. I sanded down a little bit, but I had to spray with some primer so I could get it all one color, and then start seeing where I need to sand some more, and then put my grooves in for the panel lines and everything. So I'm going to work on that, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. After the Aves, I sanded it down, and then I shot it with some primer again, and I've started redoing the panel lines that need to be there. It has some low spots, so I've put some perfect plastic putty in there. So I'm going to work on that and reprime it again. So this is going to do it for part 5. For part 6, when I come back, we're going to attach the fiber optics to the light source, get the cockpit all together and on the ship, and then we will finish things up and put it on the base and get this thing done. I'd like to thank everybody for watching, and thank you guys for subscribing, and I will see you for part 6.